Hey guys, Kyle here. So, just before the show starts, I wanted to mention our Patreon. You can pay us $1 a month as a thank you, as a tip. You can pay $2 a month to get access to one of our bonus content shows, episodes 2 days early, and a secret Discord chat where all of our Patreon donors get to go and hang out and talk with us directly. Then there's a $5 tier that you can donate to get access to a whole bunch more content. We have multiple bonus episodes on there, so please check it out. Patreon.com/itgetsweird. We don't advertise, we don't make money, so check it out and throw some money if you think that would be cool. Thanks. Welcome to It Gets Weird, our comedy show where we explore the unusual, the unbelievable, and the unexplained to try and make your world a little weirder. I'm Kyle.
And I'm Niall. And I did tell Kyle a little bit about this before we started recording, but I did just realize that I got a free Fanta sponsored by Five Nights at Freddy's 2, which is only in theaters, which I don't think is true anymore. I think that right now it's not in theaters anymore.
Yeah, well, but you gotta hand it to him. It was in theaters at a certain point.
It was, which is more you can say about a lot of movies these days.
That's true. A lot of them aren't really in theaters, huh?
If you think about it,
it's true.
The majority of movies of all time are not in theaters right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can say that pretty definitively. What's Freddy Fazbear's whole deal?
I don't honestly know. Like, I know that there's like 20 of those games. It feels like I heard about them when like the first one was coming out or whatever. Like, people were kind of into it, and then I didn't hear anything about Five Nights at Freddy's for like quite a few years, and then all of a sudden there were 20 games and a movie was coming out. And
yeah,
so it went from like a thing that Germa played one time to, I guess, like one of the defining franchises of a generation in a time period that I just entirely missed.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe we're not the demographic ultimately, but I did play it once, and I think I played it for like, I don't know, like 30 minutes, and I was like, yeah, it's okay.
I mean,
and then I
like,
never thought about it until...
It is admittedly a good, like, the mechanics of the game is admittedly a good gimmick for jump scares. Like,
yeah,
if you're trying to engineer a situation in which jump scares would happen, it's like a pretty ingenious concept. I don't know how it sustained this level of franchise.
Yeah, that's sort of my question. So podcast question of the week, what's Freddy Fazbear's whole deal? Like, what's he all about?
Do we have any fucking Five Nights at Freddy's, like, diehards in our fandom? Like,
I think our listenership tends to skew a bit younger than us.
mm-hmm.
So any of you fucking Zoomers out there who know about old Freddy Fazbear, let us know. I realize I may be opening up the space for, like, an essays-long email. But because there's probably like some lore or some shit.
I
know
sure
they've got movies now, which apparently this was the second one, which I forgot that the first one came out. And then I was thinking like, oh, is that the Nick Cage? Did they put Nick Cage in that? And it's like, no, there's like a knockoff.
No, that's Willy's
movie.
Wonderland,
right?
Which came out, I think, before the first Five Nights at Freddy's movie.
Yeah,
which
to
actually
capture
stars
that heat.
Matthew Lillard, if I'm correct.
Oh, okay, sure. Really? Huh.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Matthew Lillard is somehow is involved with the Five Nights at Freddy's movies.
Okay. Well, that's cool. Good for him. I'm always happy to see Matthew Lillard. I'm a fan. But I'm sure some listener out there can inform us. Give us the deep lore on Freddy Fazbear, because I'm not playing that shit. I'm not watching those movies. It's just never happening. So.
Also, does Freddy Fazbear have anything to do with Faz Clan that I see on people's gaming IDs?
Faz Clan.
F-A-Z? It's like some...
I think Faz Clan is a competitive gaming thing.
Okay, so Fazbear and Faz Clan have nothing to do with each other.
I don't know.
I think people now assume that I'm 55 years old and should be applying for AARP from that question, but...
I mean, look...
the whole rise of competitive gaming really just like passed me by. It was a time where I was very checked out on video games. So that and like streaming. So like I don't know what any like I know a couple streamers, and I have seen like I know about like one or two competitive video game players, and am very just checked out on everything else. And so it gets dropped in my lap occasionally, like something I should know, and I get very confused.
Yeah, no, it's completely out of my world. I say completely. I know a little bit. I dabbled in competitive gaming. Some of that stuff's kind of fun. I don't know if I should admit this, but I did go to a big League of Legends event years ago. Mainly because I had a big group of friends who wanted to go, and these are friends that I played League with many years ago. And it was fun. It was like, I don't know, it's fun, but
yeah,
it's also League of Legends, and I can't keep up. Like I already have committed myself to trying to sort of follow basketball, so I can't.
Oh, is that still
I can't
happening?
really. Yeah. I was watching Purdue play just the other night, so like I'm not. I don't follow any of these things very closely.
Sure,
But if I'm gonna follow something on enough of a level to keep track of where the teams I care about are at, it's been basketball technically. But again, I dabbled in the competitive video game thing. I followed 100 Thieves and this or that game, whatever. It doesn't matter. Nobody gives a fuck about this. I got.
no one gives a fuck about you. They care about me.
So I do have to kick this off with bad news. I did pull a muscle in my arm. I was sort of telling you about that, and that is unfortunately my podcasting arm.
Sure.
So this week I did just sort of generate all the notes with some AI.
Which one did you use?
Chat GPT.
Sure. Of course.
And I, so all of this was written by AI. Now, the problem with that was it was sort of just like, I would ask it a thing about Bigfoot, and it would say, great point. Here's what we know about Bigfoot. It would kind of give me a lot of the stuff that I kind of already know about Bigfoot.
And what that means to you.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So you're in for a really, I'll be honest, really boring episode. It didn't really help me. No, I'm just kidding. I did want to bring up something, actually. Joking aside, Obama confirmed aliens are real.
I saw that. And
First,
somebody
Geodude, now this.
Wait, what? What's the Geodude thing?
Oh, sorry. That sort of relied on you knowing a very specific meme image from like 2014.
Sure.
Where Obama says Geodude is real and strong, and he's my friend.
Oh, no. I'm familiar.
Okay,
Missed that one.
Pokemon and anime, he made that real. That was the really funny meme from back then.
I remember that one.
And now he's saying aliens are real, which is so cool to me. I'd say Obama's the coolest president we've had.
I mean, well, isn't he already like? I saw somewhere that, God, I hate that I don't know if this is real or not. That like the current administration wants to like investigate him for revealing classified secrets for this or something.
Oh. No, that makes perfect sense because, obviously him going out and talking about aliens is very real and has nothing to do with the fact that the Obamas are currently producing a Betty and Barney Hill movie for Netflix. Has nothing to do with that. He's probably going fucking rogue with state secrets about aliens.
He got really into that one tank game that people play where they like people get so mad they leak like confidential secrets regularly.
Yeah. He's in the Discord server for that tanks video game, whatever, World of Tanks or whatever. Yeah, that's kind of what Obama's been up to since the presidency. And he's just kind of gotten really into tank sims. So that's cool. Shouts out to Obama. Probably, like I said, the coolest president.
I heard he bought a complete inbox Steel Battalion unit.
Yeah.
So that's like a really big time suck for him. Some people get really into like model trains and stuff. No, Obama's playing Steel Battalion.
No, it would be so cool if he would like come onto the podcast to maybe clarify these comments about aliens. I mean, we're the people to talk to, honestly.
Yeah, sure.
And then like maybe I could set him on the pathway towards moving out of the tank area and maybe sort of see if we can talk Gundam, get him into some Gunpla, see if Obama would be into that. Could be kind of cool. Set him up with just like a RX-782. Like, doesn't even have to be master grade. We could talk a high grade or something. That would be kind of sick. So Obama, hit us up, email us, itgetsweirdpodcast@gmail.com.
I've heard he's into some mecha anime, but only Macross Saga.
Yeah. No, you know what, Niall? I think he's really only been into Macross. We're gonna see if we can expand that repertoire with Obama. So
you know how Obama puts out like the movies he liked that year list at the end of it and like songs and stuff.
Yeah.
What's people should just edit his fucking anime watch list to be really fun. That'd be a fun joke.
We should set Obama up with a My Anime list. That would be a great start here. Because like if it's just Macross, like look, don't get me wrong, Macross is cool, but I'm saying there's a lot more out there that I think he'd probably enjoy if he already enjoys Macross. I'm
trying to get him into Garo, which is a Toku, like an offshoot Toku series.
Sure.
I think that's really it's like if the gothy version of Hot Topic had a Toku series. It's like all like very heavily stylized and kind of cool dark stuff. It's go look up after the show, go look up just like a couple clips of Garo.
That sounds cool.
It's cool. It's weird.
Well,
but it's really
Michelle, cool. I know you're listening to this. Let your boy know we're looking for Obama to hit us up about all the stuff we just discussed. Aliens and Gundam. Now, if Obama's going to go out there and talk about aliens being real, I'm here to tell you Bigfoot is real.
Oh, really?
Bigfoot is real, and he's my friend, and he's strong. And he's strong to this day.
Mm-hmm.
I was sort of
strong.
Yeah, he was like really into he was really into that movement with the bracelet with that one guy.
What people don't realize, Lance Armstrong. What people don't realize is that in the Patterson-Gimlin footage, if you zoom in correctly, you can see that he's wearing a Livestrong bracelet.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I recommend everybody go and check out the Patterson-Gimlin footage again and just see if you can get in on those pixels. It's a little weird that it was so long before the Livestrong event.
Well, the event.
Yeah.
Man, that was a time. Everyone showing up to school and wondering what new like offshoot Livestrong bracelets people would be wearing that day in a different color to like, and you had to like get. It was such a weird status symbol to have the right Livestrong type rubber bracelets, and I know that's like there's stuff like that for each generation, but Livestrong was mine, and to me it's the weird one.
Yeah, I remember that stuff happening, and my attitude at the time was very much, oh, we're wearing this guy's bracelet, like why? Like what was the?
It was such like performative. Like,
it was odd
because they were all for charity, and so you would get them under the guise that it's donating to charity, and so they would kind of represent the different charities you believed in.
Right,
but it was this.
I
but
guess
we were all
so.
like in elementary school, so like, what is?
I have to assume like their parents were getting it from. I always thought the yellow Livestrong bracelet, that one was, I don't know, it was whatever. I was partial to the save the titties pink, save the boobies pink one was kind of cool.
The breast cancer awareness one, sure.
Well, yeah, because like you get to do the people see it and they go like, oh shit, I'm aware of breast cancer, and then but then also it says like boobs on it, which was also kind of cool. Anyways, look for that in the Bigfoot footage, I guess is the point of all that.
Yeah, okay, but Bigfoot is real and
yeah, Bigfoot's real. I was feeling a little nostalgic. I thought, why don't we check up on Bigfoot?
Oh, what's he been up to lately?
What's Bigfoot been up to lately? He's an old friend of ours, and he's like the flagship humanoid cryptid, other than Mothman, I guess. So here's what I decided to do. I decided to take a look and see what recent reports have been coming in about Bigfoot.
Nice. All right.
So these are stories, or I guess these are reports that have come out within the last couple years. At least one of these reports, it came out years. It happened years earlier, but the report was submitted like last year.
Sure.
So I decided to take a look at that and see what I could find, and I've got a couple interesting stories for you. Now, to find these sightings, I turned to a group they weren't new to me, but I hadn't dug into their reports as much. This is a group called the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization.
Sure.
Or BFRO. And I thought it'd be interesting to see, to take a look at one of these civilian level organizations that investigate cryptids, since we've spent so much time talking about all the UFO orgs that do basically the same thing. They go out and do, work in the streets and meet with people and follow up on these reports. It turns out Bigfoot's got some major shooters. I don't think this is the only organization by any means, but there is something to... This one definitely feels like it's approaching it, or attempting to approach it from this sort of analytic, scientific angle almost, or at least that's sort of how it's framed. And so I figured that would be a good place to look for some stuff, and they stay up to date. A lot of these groups, I get the impression that they're pretty small and local in a lot of cases. This one... It's trying to gather data on Bigfoot sightings from across the United States. It has stuff outside the U.S., but here's what it says on their website. So, founded in 1995, the BFRO is now the oldest and largest organization of its kind, a virtual community of scientists, journalists, and specialists from diverse backgrounds. The researchers who compose the BFRO are engaged in projects including field and laboratory investigations designed to address various aspects of the Bigfoot phenomenon. As a result of the education and experience of its members and the quality of their efforts, the BFRO is widely considered as the most credible and respected investigative network involved in the study of this project. Now, this is them talking about themselves. I will say, though, it's like, looking at the website, I did feel good about, if not the quality of their work, because I'm not an expert, I can't speak very much to that, but the quantity, the ability to capture this many sightings in one place is pretty nice.
Yeah.
It goes on to say that it has always been the policy of the BFRO to study the species in ways that will not physically harm them. So I like the inclusion of this. One, there's a lot of old stories that we've talked about where people basically are like, I'm grabbing the shotgun. I'm going to blow Bigfoot's fucking head off.
Yeah, there's a lot of trigger happy, because like a lot of these people that witness Bigfoot aren't really Bigfoot researchers or anything, so they're just seeing a thing in the woods and scared. But yeah, it's nice that when the organizations are committed to not like hurting the thing they're studying. Right.
I do kind of love the implication of like, if we were to encounter a Bigfoot, it would be a peaceful transaction. We're not gonna like, there's something incredible to me that there's this like implicit thing in saying this, that we may actually encounter Bigfoot. I mean, look, you got to understand the assumption here by the people working here is that Bigfoot is real, like I said. So it says here, the overall mission of the BFRO is multifaceted, but the organization essentially seeks to resolve the mystery surrounding the Bigfoot phenomenon, that is, to derive conclusive documentation of the species' existence. This goal is pursued through the proactive collection of empirical data and physical evidence from the field, and by means of activities designed to promote an awareness and understanding of the nature and origin of the evidence. These large apes are spotted mostly in forested regions with abundant protein sources, deer in particular. They consistently maintain low population levels in those areas, even where the protein sources could support dramatically larger numbers of them. Consequently, they have never become an ongoing nuisance to human communities or to human livestock. Unlike gorillas and chimps, their family/groupings are small and mobile, making it very difficult for modern humans to hunt them. Their impact on the land is so subtle that it takes a trained eye to even notice it. They can operate nocturnally, sometimes close to rural communities of humans, and be only occasionally seen, heard, or detected. So this is another thing that I don't think I've ever seen, where there is something here where they are sort of suggesting that Bigfoot is, if not carnivorous, at least omnivorous, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the times, Bigfoot gets framed as being an herbivore.
Yeah.
I feel like they're eating nuts and berries, right? And plant life. This is the first time where they're basically saying, because it's almost like they're saying because of the association of like the areas where they tend to be seen,
mm-hmm.
their protein resource would be eating deer. That is what this is saying.
There is something to that. Like I think I like the approach here. I like that it feels like those are reasonable conclusions to draw from the lore and from the whatever accounts they might have. And the idea of it being an omnivore makes some sense with the way, because like it's not always found in places with it's not always found near orchards or near farms or whatever. It's found in the woods where hunting would make some sense for a thing of its size. So I think that makes some sense, but it does feel a little antithetical to the, I guess, like hippie side of Bigfoot that people kind of lean on, where it's kind of, it's this old soul that eats berries and leaves.
Yeah, lives in Mount Shasta with the lemurs and channels, etheric energy or whatever. It's funny because, like, on the one hand, I do feel like they're sort of trying to approach it from this almost biologist perspective of like, mm-hmm. This is probably it's because of the ecosystem that it's in. This is how it likely feeds. How it gets its nutrients would be, deer or whatever. But on the other hand, it also kind of feels like it almost feels like another version of what you just described, where like people have an idea in mind of what Bigfoot is and mm-hmm. what Bigfoot's nature and behavior is like. So you have the people out there who will say the hippy dippy version, where they're they're vegetarians and they are peaceful creatures that love humanity from a distance or whatever. Here it's almost like, well, our version of Bigfoot is the one that we're just assuming by default. That's what both camps do. Yeah. Because it's speculative, I would kind of like to see maybe openness to the idea that Bigfoot, but so because there's a story we're going to get into that is relevant with the deer thing, okay. Where they're basically saying, and it's so silly, we'll get to it, but you'll see what I mean, where they're like, deer are known to live in this, like white-tailed deer specifically live in this habitat, and therefore we can say this is a Bigfoot sighting because Bigfoot also probably eats white-tailed deer. You see what I'm saying?
So deer are like a criteria for a missing 411 sighting for Bigfoot. Like,
yeah,
they're kind of looking at because like I think that it's interesting to look at the places where sightings of Bigfoot have happened historically and like the hot spots for it, so to speak, and how those cross over with certain other animal populations. In this case, deer. That is an interesting kind of analysis of Bigfoot.
Right.
Does it mean that those are, is correlation causation? I don't know.
Right. That's the thing. It's sort of like, have you ever seen the map where they show UFO sightings on the map and then also the locations of prominent airports?
Yep.
Which is sort of the skeptic's way of going like, see, UFOs are just people misidentifying airplanes. But then it's like, okay, well, also, what if you put down like Air Force bases or whatever? Like, what there's other data points that could potentially be relevant to these clusterings of sightings that are worth talking about. But here, one of the fixations seems to be deer.
Sure.
So, and you know, like one of the guys, he's like a hunter, so I can sort of see it's a lot. It feels very. These are my observations of the world and nature, and it's getting rolled up into my view of this speculative creature.
Sure.
Now they do another thing that I think is cool. That like, I've really only seen them do it. I'm sure others have done it. I've only seen it laid out like this here, though, and I think it's worth doing more and iterating on in the cryptozoology community. But they developed their own classification system for Bigfoot encounters. So, you have Class A, B, and C. Class A is sort of what you would think, where it's like unmistakably this was an encounter with Bigfoot.
Sure.
Or at least not a known primate. Like, this is something that could not be identified. We know it could not be identified, basically.
Yeah, a UPC, an unidentified primate creature.
Yeah. You can't rule out or rather, you can rule out misidentification in this class, basically.
Okay.
Now, Class B, I'll just read you what it says here because they get a little detail. It says, incidents for Class B. These are where a possible Sasquatch was observed at a great distance or in poor lighting conditions, and incidents in any other circumstance that did not afford a clear view of the subject. These are considered Class B. For example, credible reports where nothing was seen but distinct and characteristic sounds of Sasquatches were heard are always considered Class B reports and never Class A, even in the most compelling sound-only cases. This is because the lack of a visual element raises a much greater potential for a misidentification of the sounds. Class B reports are not considered less credible or less important than Class A reports. Both types are deemed credible enough by the BFRO to show to the public. Almost all reports included in the database are first-hand reports. Occasionally, a second-hand report is considered reliable enough to add to the database, but those reports are never Class A because of the higher potential for inaccuracy when the story does not come straight from the eyewitnesses. So, if you can maybe see Bigfoot from a distance, but you can't get a clear image. Sound only is also it kind of like. This is where there's some interpretation that has to be involved on how you classify the encounter. And then the rest of the accounts, which are Class C, these are pretty much second-hand reports or third-hand. So These are just stories where they couldn't get a source.
And
they
so
don't want to.
And so accounts that seem like most likely it was something else don't get any classification.
I suppose so. I think they would all just kind of get binned into Class C because they're basically saying that there are documented incidents from, for instance, before the word Bigfoot was a thing. But they fit the description, but also there isn't like... You can't directly source certain things, or you can't talk to the person who made the claim, or... there's enough separation from just the history of Bigfoot going back before that was a thing. So these are all just things that fall outside of really what you would call eyewitness or traceable, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So they and for our to keep things simple, I just went for A and B accounts here.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Now, I was pretty happy to find a classification system like this because, again, it's not... I don't think that's very typical in the cryptozoology community. I think, you immediately think of Hynek's close encounter scale for UFOs.
Yeah.
And it got me thinking how if you're into cryptozoology, investigating them on the same level that UFOs, where like you can look at UFOs in a much broader way. For cryptozoology, you'd have to function like a biologist who specializes in a particular cryptid species, usually, or like the kind of person who specifically focuses on dinosaur-like cryptids or you'd have to have like a focus,
Yeah.
which is sort of interesting because you don't have to do that for UFOs really, but then at a certain point, if you start branching out into people who claim to have interactions with different races of aliens, then maybe you would have to start talking about specializing.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's the Elena Danons of the world are specific.
Yeah.
Where like the it always comes to mind where it's like Lauren Coleman is like the cryptozoologist that first hits my brain. It's like he covers a wide variety of cryptids, but it's very just kind of like field recordings. Like he's just kind of like going in trying to get the stories and not doing like there is analysis to it and stuff, but it's presented kind of as he is told,
Yeah, I mean,
it's interesting to put the classification system over that kind of like traveling chronicler thing.
I do think that a lot of the way this is probably why we don't get a lot of this classification attempt stuff, because most people, I think, in the world of cryptozoology do like to talk about a lot of different kinds of cryptids, and there's not as many cryptids where you would have enough data points to then go and say, I'm just going to analyze this one species.
Yeah.
So I'm glad this exists, I guess is what I'm saying. Maybe there might be something, it might be worth iterating on the idea and bouncing it off more people in the cryptid space, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
Now, I would like to note that I have not seen any reports coming in from 2026 yet, so we need people out there this year looking. We got to get those numbers up. But luckily, like I said, there's some stuff from 2025. This website even, like I mentioned, collects international reports, but notably, those are not coming in within the last few years, and I'm not totally sure why, except for Canada.
Sure.
It might just be an English-speaking part of the world type thing. But know this. I thought this was interesting and maybe something we could look into in the future. There's way more sightings in Malaysia than just about anywhere else based off of the BFR. I mean, the United States is the nexus of Bigfoot.
Yeah.
But if you start looking outside of North America, Malaysia had the most sightings that they had cataloged. I don't know how complete their catalog actually is, but it looks all over the place. So I just thought that was interesting. And then one other side note about that, Canadian listeners, I need to know what's going on in Ontario. The last Bigfoot sighting in Canada in these reports came in 2020, and Ontario has the most Bigfoot sightings by far. So please write in itgetsweirdpodcast@gmail.com. Legit question of the week for our listeners. Give me the scoop on Ontario's cryptozoology scene, because there's clearly something going on there, especially with Bigfoot.
Sure.
So let's get into some Bigfoot reports. So
does anyone do these people make any differentiation between subspecies of Bigfoot, such as Yeti, skunk ape, etc.?
I think there is some of that. I didn't look at the cases that were maybe talking about subspecies.
Okay.
I just was looking at a couple from the U.S. that were in the last, 8 years.
So mostly these are all going to be basically like straight up Bigfoot as the creature.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what it seems to be. Yeah. So the first one I've got was investigated by the founder and current director of BFRO, Matthew Moneymaker. That
hell of a name.
That is his name. That's an incredible name. This guy apparently also wrote and co-produced Sasquatch Legend Meets Science for the Discovery Channel in 2001, and co-produced the TV series Mysterious Encounters on the Outdoor Life Network in 2002. So he had a period there where he was doing some TV on Bigfoot, but he also investigates Bigfoot reports. So this report was submitted in March of 2025 and takes place in Lawrence County in Arkansas. So it was submitted in 2025, but it happened in 2012.
Okay.
In December, peak of winter in December 2012, around 10 a.m., and we have a name for a witness. This guy's name is Rowdy Ditto, which I do believe was the nature of the Ditto that I captured in Pokemon recently. So that's interesting.
Hey, Pokemon go to the forests, Go get your Bigfoot sightings.
Yeah, yes. So Ditto was out hunting for ducks, and here's the report that he submitted. So he says, I wish I would have sent this to you guys years ago. I could have put you on an actual Bigfoot. I saw one 30 yards away from me. It was approximately 9 feet tall and 4-ish feet in width for the shoulders. I can absolutely to this day describe the facial features and hair and anything else you want to know. It was the winter of 2012 during Arkansas duck season. It was my father and best friend at the time duck hunting in Shirley Bay in northeast Arkansas. It was a slow morning, and hunters around the area were being silly, sky-busting birds. I don't know what that means. It sounds sexual to me.
Yeah.
Is that sort of like the opposite of a sky burial? Where you, like, get... What's a sky burial? Do you just get, like, dropped out of a plane? You're like a corpse, and they just toss you out?
I thought they,
just
like,
let you hit
project it into the sky.
Oh, maybe.
Or like a cannon type thing.
Sure. Yeah.
But I'm not... I honestly... You asked me that question, and at first I thought I had an answer, but I have no answer. I don't know what the fuck a sky burial is.
Oh, I see. Okay, sorry. I've clarified it. It's where there's, like, remains on a mountaintop, and the birds eat you.
Oh. Okay.
So I'm guessing that a sky busting is sort of like a sexual version of that. So, okay. Although I would also say probably birds are not involved, but maybe 2 participants in the sky busting go up. They're dressed as birds.
It's where you jerk off on top of a mountain and the birds come down and eat what your ejaculation. Sky busting.
That's so much nastier than what I was going to say, Niall. Thank you for alley-ooping that one for me.
Yeah. Sky busting makes me feel good, okay?
So this guy was out there with his dad busting a nut into birds' beaks or whatever. But he says I regret that instantly. So he says they were being silly sky busting birds, which us locals can't stand. You know what? I'm realizing I maybe just have to Google sky busting real quick.
I just looked it up. When a hunter shoots at birds that are out of range.
Oh, what the fuck? Why would you do that?
It's considered unethical and poor sportsmanship.
Oh, this is horrible. What the fuck?
You're just like, possibly injuring it enough that it gets hurt, but not enough to kill it, and that's
fucked up.
Yeah, so it turns out mine's less fucked up than that.
That is, yeah, that's not cool. Well, okay, so he says locals can't stand that. Well, I got mad and shot a bird really high with my 10 gauge. The bird sailed quite a ways, and me being my young self said, I'm going to go find that bird. So off I took after it. So he's saying, I don't like that practice. I shot a bird. I'm not about to let that, be a wasteful thing of just killing a bird wantonly. And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
He says, after wading through thigh-deep waters for about 200 yards, I came up to what looked like an owl or something that beat me to my bird. There were feathers floating all in the water, and I was like, dang. About that time, I heard what sounded like I'm reading it as it was written. I heard what sounded like big over-cup acorns hitting the water. Okay, so a type of acorn hitting the water.
Sure.
Usually it's just a couple that fall out of a tree because of a squirrel running on the branch, but this started to have a rhythm. So I started to look hard while tucked up in some thick brush. That's when I'd seen something very large walking toward me from about 150 yards away. He was swaying in and out of the trees. I was like, what the heck is that? And being the young kid I was, I froze. He approached closer and closer. He got within 30 yards of me, and I could make him out as clear as I'm typing this message. We locked eyes, and his dark eyes read curious and didn't know what I was yet. He had a scared demeanor about him, which, being a country boy and around animals all my life, I know they can be unpredictable when they are scared, which sent a lot of adrenaline and fear running through my veins. He looked about for 30 seconds, which seemed like forever to me, and then kind of raised his shoulders and let out a huff thing of sorts, so he's grunting and huffing, almost like a really low, deep sigh of air. I was a statue. I was paralyzed by what I was seeing. I know I had a 10 gauge, and it would not have stood a snowball's chance in hell of surviving it from that distance. I kept telling myself, he takes a step towards you, Rowdy, you kill him. But he kind of turned and kept looking over his shoulder and left. An effortless walk through the water, and he was gone in no time. I was in awe of how fast he was gone, yet he wasn't rushing. I felt like I walked on water getting back to my dad. I came up and he was like, "What's wrong?" I just kept saying, "We gotta go, we gotta go." He was like, "Okay, dude." So we packed up and left. The story doesn't end there with this incident. After I'd say about a week, I had not been back hunting, which is not like me, and I was just brushing it off the best I could. My dad finally said, "Tell me what the heck you seen." I was like, "Nothing," and he was like, "Oh, yes, you did." So I told him that story. He's a believer, and he has seen one himself. Lots of people I know have seen one around our area, but don't talk about it. My dad told me I ain't crazy, because my cousin casted a footprint a day before I seen him in that area. My cousin worked for the AGFC, and he turned in the cast, and the Game and Fish told him that if he liked his job, he would get rid of it and not talk about it. It's definitely real. So my favorite thing about this story, beyond just it's a visceral experience with a Bigfoot, I like that. Game and Fish want to cover up the existence of Bigfoot.
Yeah,
have you heard this before?
Not specifically. Like there have been various organizations that try to suppress. That's always a part of these things. But I've never heard that one specifically, and I like the idea, because that means that how far up does it go? Is President Obama gonna also like drop some like Bigfoot deets whenever he does his next, like, I'm sure after Betty and Barney Hill he'll find some sort of like Bigfoot or something to do a documentary on, like, it should just happen.
I just would like to point out, Obama has not been president for some time now.
True.
So that's Mr. Obama, I'm afraid. Sorry, it's a demotion, I realize. There's no higher honor than the honorific of president, but I'm just saying, call him what it is. Mr. Fuck.
Look,
Mr.
I'm just
Obama.
going to call him Barack. I'm going to call him
Sure.
Barack.
No, that's cool.
Because we're
we are
like
on
that.
Yeah. No, that's cool. So yeah, I would love to see him develop some sort of Bigfoot documentary, and maybe he goes out and he confirms it for us in the lead up to that, to sort of get some marketing going.
Because that's really the best way to deal with and like to confirm any sort of Fortean thing is leaking it in a press tour for your thing you're making money off of.
Right. Right. So we're going to be looking to Obama for that. That'll be interesting. Now, as for Ditto, apparently no other witnesses to this specific encounter, but like you said, his dad claims to have seen one in the past. He says that the area that he had been hunting in was this flooded timber and river bottom ground, so lots of water. He talks about wading through the water. And Moneymaker follows up with his report to discuss the sighting. And what I like about the site too is that they provide satellite photos of a lot of these encounters. Like they'll look up the location and get details on where it happened if they can. So he follows up and says this. I spoke with Rowdy by phone. He is very credible and willing to talk to journalists. He's a construction manager currently building a school in the area. He's married with 3 kids. His family background and social group are all avid hunters and fishermen. He has spent many days and nights in the woods and on the water. Rowdy also mentioned 2 other places along the Black River within a few miles where he saw possible eye shine from a Bigfoot on subsequent occasions. He says he could work with a sketch artist to make an accurate depiction of the creature. He also offered to lead some BFRO investigators to this area. So first of all, I love that eye shine is one of the things that they look for. It has been established in the Bigfoot lore that big feet have shiny eyes in the dark, which is not human. That's the important point of it, I think.
Yes.
Unfortunately, if this sketch was produced of the creature he saw and a BFRO investigation ensued, it's not on their site. But given that this was sort of a relatively recent report, it occurred years ago in 2012, but the report was from last year. I suppose it's possible they'll investigate the area at some point because they have done that. I've seen that they have done that. So hopefully there will be a follow-up in the future.
Yeah, it could be forthcoming. That'd be great.
Yeah. So that's the first sighting. Here's our next encounter. So this one comes from April of 2018. This is the oldest one I did. It's a while ago now, but my internal time tracker treats 2018 like it was 3 or 4 years ago, so I'm just going to say it counts. This one went down in Claremont County in Ohio, about 30 miles southeast of Cincinnati. The name's on this site. So the report was tackled by a BFRO investigator named Johnny Walker, except there's no H in Johnny. So
Sure.
Not the same Johnny Walker. But Walker's bio claims that he works in surveillance. It just says that he has work in surveillance, but he's also done a bunch of work as an avid outdoorsman and a hunter, and he does a lot of hiking, especially across the U.S. national parks. Sorry, I just got interrupted by the loud storm outside my house. So, anyways, this guy, Bigfoot witness, and has attended expeditions for BFRO in 2017 and 2018. So here's the report. This person says, one night this past spring at about 10 p.m., when it was warm enough to be outside at night without a coat and with just shorts and a t-shirt on, and when the leaves on the trees were budding but not fully grown in, our border collie / Australian Shepherd was out near the front of our property, which is just across the street from the East Fork State Park woods. That's hard to say. Barking his head off. Often, even at night, I will just ignore him because he barks at every little thing, but this bark definitely sounded like he was saying there's something here, and I wanted to let the whole world know. I was in an outbuilding, went inside, and grabbed my high-powered flashlight. When I came back out, our dog was still barking loudly and remained laser-focused as he stared at something in the woods across the street. I shone my light between some trees, and bam, got some bright eye shine right back. Not the red eye shine you so often read about, but bluish-white, I think. That's interesting. We do normally hear about red eye shine from Bigfoot.
Yeah.
This is something else maybe, or just a different species. Now, at no point did I have my glasses on, which I used for driving at night, but here's my point. The eye shine was at a height that I guessed to be about 10 to 12 feet up. This is a huge fucking Bigfoot. The eyes stayed fixed on me at that point, blinking, sometimes both eyes at once, sometimes one eye, then quickly the other.
So it's got sometimes
is like
it's
a
got,
dimwit.
like, cartoon dimwit eyes where it goes blink, blink,
Yeah.
blink, blink. Yeah. All right.
My wife came out and said, "Oh, it's just an owl," but I wasn't convinced. My voice was trembling a bit because I've read the other stories on this website about Sasquatches living in the area, especially the one pertaining to the Bigfoot standing along the entrance road to the park being only about 2 miles from our little property below the lake. Besides, I thought, why would my 11-year-old dog be going crazy over an owl perched on a branch 50 feet away from our fence? How would he even hear an owl gliding so silently onto a branch in the woods at night? It's also hard for me to believe that he would have happened to see an owl gliding onto a branch at night, but maybe. It just seems far-fetched. Well, at that point, I went inside and grabbed my BB gun. Probably not the best idea, as I do not yet own a handgun or other weapon that could actually provide some protection if things went south. So, I went to our front door, opened it a crack, held the flashlight in my teeth, kept a fire extinguisher next to me just in case it came rushing out of the woods at me. At least I could try to fill its face with something it would definitely not like to be breathing in, and aimed my BB rifle at the eyes still shining back at me. I pulled the trigger and waited. About 1 to 2 seconds later, I don't think I hit it, whatever it was clearly reacted to the BB, which must have passed nearby. Then, for about 2.5 seconds, I heard it start to crash through the woods from right to left, with left being in the direction of our mailbox, driveway, and the road we take to access our street. Then, silence. However, what interested me was that our dog was still super focused and barking, no different. But even after the crashing went quiet, he continued to track something to the left, barking as furiously as ever. So, if my location was the apex of a triangle, and the creature was at the farthest point away, and its movement to the left represented the base of the triangle, my dog had to...
Okay.
My dog
And
had
if the
to...
trains are going departing from opposite stations,
Yeah.
one's going 15 miles per... Yeah.
Yes, this is about to be a math problem. My dog had to run full speed to keep up with it, even though my dog's trajectory would have represented a shorter base distance of a smaller triangle.
I love this. This rules.
It's great. It's so good.
Whoever wants to animate this, go figure it out.
In other words, kind of like when I'm in a marching band, the people on the outside fringe of a circular moving formation have to march at double or triple time to keep up with the people who are barely shuffling their feet at the center of the circle. The creature is moving so fast that my dog still had to run full out to keep up with it. I'd say my dog ran about 30 or 40 feet to my left in about 4 seconds, which means that the creature ran about 100 to 150 feet in that time through somewhat dense woods, which is where I always harvest kindling for our buck stove, and I can tell you, this section of woods are not impassable by any means, but there's still plenty of undergrowth to have to push your way through. So this thing moved fast as fuck through heavy brush, is the point.
Yeah. Now,
you could have just said that, but I appreciate the embellishment.
Yeah, I like the specificity. I also... what do you think? Do you think that Bigfoot has, like, Flintstones running, where it's, like, a lot of little steps? Or do you think he's taking long fucking leaps, you know?
I think he's taking long leaps, but he has to, like, wind up and build up sort of like the Flintstones, and it sort of makes that noise that it makes, you know, the sort of clattering noise that Fred makes when he's like winding up to run. Or maybe that's Scooby-Doo. You know what I'm talking about.
I mean, it's a common thing of the time.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. But I think he's taking big ass steps. I mean, this is like, obviously there's the possibility of exaggeration. We talk about how these sightings are, you know, it's dark, you're freaked out. Exaggeration could happen just passively without intending to. But he did say that this thing is maybe 10 to 12 feet up where its eyes are. So it's got at least another half foot maybe above it.
Look, we always talk about the big feet. Do we always talk about the long legs?
That's true. This could be a long-legged, big-footed guy. We don't know.
Yeah.
So he goes on and says, my dog's gaze then remained focused as he continued to bark at a location in the woods across the street about 15 feet to the left of my driveway. So I presume that's where the creature probably took a turn and headed back deeper into the woods. Lastly, I've been doing a lot of projects in my yard out front all summer long. I can tell you that whenever my dog would be outside with me, about 85% of the time, I observed him to be staring at that location 15 feet to the left of our driveway. Even though our neighbors and their dogs and other activity around our property would and still do capture his attention very easily, when the distraction goes away, my dog still very often will return to this spot and continue his vigil. In the 20 months that we have lived here, I have never seen him keeping such diligent watch on the woods in general, and certainly not on one location in particular until after this incident. Since this incident, there have been times when I have called him in at night and I've found him lying down in an alert position and in the dark, staring at that same spot, as if waiting to see the creature reappear. I just can't imagine an owl or a coyote or a deer having made that initial crashing noise and then going silent like that. I also can't imagine my dog keeping such diligent watch over the woods for weeks and months afterwards in response to a mere owl, deer, or even a coyote. Besides, no coyotes or deer's eyes are going to shine back at me 10 or more feet up in the air. I'm about 95% sure that I shone my light into the eyes of a Sasquatch that night, and a big one, too. Though I wish I'd thought to go look for tracks the next day after work, two things got in my way: busyness and fear. I'm sure the creature was long gone 24 hours later, but I couldn't help but wonder if a Sasquatch remembers someone firing a BB gun at him or not. I really like that detail because it is sort of like the trailing end of a horror story of like, does the thing remember that I shot at him?
Yeah,
and is it haunting this location?
We'll kind of come back around to that thing in a little while when Bigfoot remembers, and it's gonna get you after the credits.
Yes. So this report comes with an update where he basically claims to have had another encounter with a Bigfoot in this area, but this was a Class B. I guess they're both Class Bs, but this is an additional Class B encounter that's like even harder to verify because the report is him basically hearing what he believes to be Bigfoot howling. So he describes this as a quote unquote Aroot, AROOT style.
Okay.
So he likens it to more of a bark than a moaning howl. But he also says, whatever it was very hard to classify. But the closest thing he can say, it was like a bark, less of a moan, and a root. So I'm thinking like a root,
Yeah.
I don't know how else to do that, but that's what he's saying. And
it's like some Brody King vibes. I like
yeah. So he says that these vocalizations last for a few hours, and he is freaked out, especially after that first encounter. So he calls the police, and the police show up. They patrol for a while. They don't find anything. But we do have a follow-up from the BFRO investigator, Johnny Walker, who says this. I spoke to the dog owner and believe he did in fact experience what he stated. He spoke very matter-of-factly and repeated what he reported. Though his wife dismissed the eye shine as being an owl, he agreed an owl could not have gone crashing through the brush like a bull elk. I informed the dog owner of things to watch for and was assured he would contact us promptly should any further activity happen near his property. My own experience in the East Fork area was close to the same wooded area across from his home. At this time, there are several reports being investigated in East Fork Park and surrounding area. So, nothing conclusive about this one, but a chilling encounter.
So is this one considered an A or a B?
These would both be considered B because he does not get a clear vision of the thing. The first one we talked about would be A.
Okay.
So we have one last report, and this is another one that's investigated by our boy Moneymaker. This went down in Walworth, Wisconsin in September of 2025 outside of Palmyra. So we get the nice map marking the location, but also get a nice set of photos of the oak trees of Wisconsin, which I quite enjoyed. So this is around Kettle Moraine Oak State Forest, and the BFRO was lucky enough to have an investigator out in this area named Tom Nordstrom who tag-teamed the report. So here's what the witness says. On September 1st, 2025, at about 9:20 at night, I was driving with my good friend and I went to the Kettle Moraine State Forest off of Young Road in Walworth County, Wisconsin. We were both 19. I parked my truck on this little dirt parking lot that was about 20 feet by 20 feet. Keep in mind, we pulled the truck into the parking spot, and from the back bumper of the truck road, it was maybe about 15 feet. When we parked the truck, my friend who was sitting in the passenger seat next to me looks over and says, "Man, I don't know if we should be here. I feel like we're being watched." I felt the same way deep down, but I told him, "Nah, dude, let's go. We will be fine." So we got out of the truck and got out the bottle rockets we brought to shoot around on the road to have some harmless fun. We set the bag of fireworks on the driver's side seat and left the door open on that side so the lights inside the truck would shine on them so we could see what we were doing. It was very dark back there, and the only light we had were the interior lights shining on the seat and the back cargo light shining down on the truck bed. We did not have the headlights on. We shot bottle rockets off for a good 20 minutes when it all happened. I was standing next to my friend grabbing more fireworks off the driver's side seat. I finished grabbing what I needed and went back towards the back of the truck from the driver's side door to shoot them off by the road. As I was walking back, I heard something walking in the grass across the street from us. I looked up and saw a large, white and grayish black shape moving. My eyes weren't adjusted yet because I was by the light in the truck. I tried to reason it was a deer or something, but why would a white deer approach two guys shooting off bottle rockets making tons of noise? I looked at it and I saw a leg step out on the road across the street from me, an almost human-looking leg. Then I saw a large object start walking on the street from the left until it was right across from me. While this was happening, I was trying to figure out what it was because I couldn't make it out because of the darkness. Finally, it stopped walking and just was looking at me across the street. My eyes started to adjust and I saw a very, very large upright figure with white and blackish gray hair. I immediately started reaching back and grabbing my friend and pointing at the figure and yelling, "What's that thing?" My friend looked over at it, but his eyes weren't adjusted. He saw the top of the head and the shoulders. It started to walk toward me slowly, almost in an intimidating manner, approaching me without an ounce of fear. As it approached me and my friend, it made it to the dirt parking lot where we were parked up, and that's when my cargo light on my truck lit up. It had to have been around 7.5 to 8 feet tall. It looked like it was aging as it had white and gray hair mixing with its black hair. The creature was very muscular and just unbelievably massive. The thing's face was blackish and almost oily looking. It had black eyes and a slit for the mouth, and I could make out a nose. It was still dark with the dim cargo light hitting the thing. The moon was behind it, and that's how my friend and I saw the outline so well. Unfortunately, my friend did not see as many details as I did, as his eyes were not adjusted from the darkness yet. Once I saw how close it was to us and how it was still approaching, I stopped reaching for my phone camera and just told my friend, "Get in the truck." And as I said this, I jumped into the driver's side and started the truck up. As I got in, I saw my friend practically diving over the hood of my truck, trying to get to the passenger door. Once we got into the truck, I slammed the gas down and went into reverse towards the thing, and it managed to jump out of the way before it hit it. We took off down the road at high speeds. We came back with my brother and my dad with a high-powered flashlight looking for any sign of it, but found nothing. The next morning, my friend and I returned and looked for tracks. We found spots in the grass where I first saw it pressed down from the thing's weight. To conclude, I think this thing was watching us as my loud 90s Chevy pickup was coming down the road and into the parking spot. It probably got sick of us shooting fireworks off and just got out of the ditch and walked over in an attempt to intimidate and scare us with its sheer mass. And it worked. The incident... Oh, go ahead.
I love this one because the whole sighting so far amounts to we wanted to light off a bunch of fireworks and we kind of just annoyed a Bigfoot that was around us.
Yeah.
I love this. This is great.
Well, and this is one of those stories too where there's almost a sentience to the thing, or like a near sentience to it.
Yeah, they angered Grandpa Bigfoot, and he comes out to say, "Get off my lawn!"
Yeah, get the hell off my fucking property.
Yeah, that's what this is so far.
He's
and
the
I love
Abe Simpson of Bigfoot.
Yeah.
So they conclude by saying that this incident only happened yesterday, and I decided to report it here. Many other anomalous activities have happened out there over the years, such as whistles, rocks getting thrown, angry growls, and howls. So there's actually a pretty detailed follow-up to this one. It was Nordstrom and Moneymaker again, and they get together. They send fellow investigators Mark Dominic and Tom Nordstrom, who's actually writing the report. And they go there and they meet with the witnesses. So here's what they say. Measurements were made and double-checked as directed by the witnesses. As we continue to investigate the area, we are both confident that the witnesses are credible reporters of this event. In revisiting the site and recreating the scene a month almost to the day later, the witness estimated the figure to be almost about 7.5 feet tall and 3 feet wide at the shoulders. The gently cone-shaped head, which he estimated over 12 inches wide, had white hair on it and a hairline that seemed to recede. The hair on the body was mostly a grayish-black with occasional tufts of white on its chest and shoulders. Look, male pattern baldness comes for Bigfoot too, is the thing.
I love that we finally have a Bigfoot with a receding hairline. I don't know if this is representation.
Actually, like, okay, it could just be like an ape-like thing too, like, because if you've ever looked at an ape's hairline, and I know you have, they can kind of have, like, the thing they're describing, it does maybe sound, but I also do think that these people are trying to say this might have been an older Bigfoot, a geriatric Bigfoot.
Yeah.
The face itself was dark with a large eyebrow ridge and skin that seemed to be oily. The hands hung down by the knees of the creature, and they moved very little, if at all, when it walked. The witness felt this contributed to the feeling that, combined with short, silent steps and a lack of any head movement as it walked, the Bigfoot was trying to sneak up on them as they lit off their fireworks. He also reported that throughout this encounter, the figure made no vocal sounds of any kind. As on the night of the encounter, a recreation was around 9 p.m. with the moon at about 3/4 and shining from the south onto us and our cars on the north side of the road. So they really, like, they set it up to try to mimic the exact circumstances in a truck that that these people initially encountered. We observed that from the center line of the road, the entire outline of the boys was very difficult to see as they leaned into the truck. The sides closest to the cab light were obvious, but the sides of them furthest from the vehicle blended very, very easily into the dark of the night. The witnesses themselves are young men of around 20 years of age. The primary witness is currently living in the area and learning a carpentry trade. He and his family have hiked and hunted the forest in this area most of his life. He has a great familiarity with these woods. 1 month after the encounter, the witness stated that he would no longer hunt these woods alone. So here's the thing. They go through all this trouble, and I had one question.
Sure.
Why are you not lighting off fireworks?
Yeah, it does seem like they're missing one crucial element of the story, but
look, I understand that these are people who care about animals and the environment, probably just based off of what I've read, but like, just light off a couple fireworks. See if that's the key. Like, I get that they recreated this, but like, also, if this is a pissed off grandpa, then you could maybe get him to come back. They go there a month later. Like, it's not that long since the initial encounter.
Look, Grandpa might be sleepy, and you need to do something. His hearing aid's not in, so you got to light off some fireworks to wake him up and get him up and running. You know?
Yes, and this is how we are announcing. Niall and I have developed a brand new board game based off of a classic you might remember from your childhood. This is Don't Wake Grandpa Bigfoot. There's going to be a lot of like cool, like if you remember that game, you can do all kinds of cool stuff on a game board. But if you fuck up, Grandpa Bigfoot wakes up and you lose the game. So look forward to that. This entirely relies on people who remember from the late 90s, early 2000s, Don't Wake Daddy, I think it was called.
Yeah, it was called Don't Wake Daddy.
It's sort of like a mousetrap like.
Yeah, it's you know, it's somewhere between this is real. It's somewhere between like if you tried to play Mousetrap on a fucking like Trivial Pursuit board. It has that like round track that you're like, right. It's weird.
Now, Niall, I know I joked about AI up front with this podcast, but there is a weird section of this report that made me giggle because
Sure.
Moneymaker decides for some reason to throw a bunch of questions about kettle moraine oak and deer ecosystems to Chat GPT, and that's
Sure.
included in the report. It's it literally is just in there to be like, Chat GPT says that this is good environment for deer, which we have established is something Bigfoot maybe eats. So there you go.
Okay.
It's a very odd little section there, but they also include these nice photos of the oaks and things. And they actually caption them with some interesting Bigfoot related thoughts. So these are photos of trees, and it says, this ancient ecosystem in Wisconsin with these large bur oaks is a holdout from an era of much greater diversity and abundance of plants and trees. It's no surprise that some Bigfoots would prefer this area now at least part of the year. Kettle Moraine Oak opening is full of old oak trees like these. Bigfoots will climb into these trees for a better view and will then be nearly impossible to spot from a distance because their fur provides such good camouflage with the tree bark. You might walk right beneath one in daylight without noticing it. I've never heard of Bigfoot behavior like that, but I'll take Moneymaker's word for it on this one, I guess. Clearly they have some reports somewhere on Bigfoot climbing trees to get a nice view. And again, that's another one of those tidbits where it kind of lends this assumption of sentience, So, Niall, those are 3 Bigfoot sightings that are more recent. I feel like we've talked a lot about a lot of older ones, but these were newer ones.
Yeah, one of those like in the last like 6 months. That's wild.
Yeah, and I'm going to keep an eye on this site because they update. I love a cryptid or a UFO website that's just like we're constantly adding new reports as they come in. So
yeah,
I'll keep an eye on this. But there's a lot of Bigfoot reports out there, Niall. There's a lot of stories that people have. So I think this will not be the last time that we check out the BFRO's work. So shouts out.
Maybe we'll have to like comb through some cryptids and look for more recent stuff on like Mothman and Dogman and shit.
I love and that's something that I do try to do. Mothman reports are not coming in as frequently as Bigfoot. Bigfoot is the cryptid, right?
Correct.
And it's just harder to find sites that update specifically around Mothman. I mean, it exists. But I haven't seen... Normally, if there's a Mothman sighting, it actually, like, breaks out in the news. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like the last time I saw
Chicago
Mothman,
for a while.
Right.
Yeah.
The last time I saw a Mothman report, it actually just made it onto, like, some sort of online news. So, I would love to see more of that, but I think Bigfoot's just so popular and is so ubiquitous that... That's something where you can actually get frequent updates on reports and stuff.
Yeah.
So, I was very excited to get back to Bigfoot. I'd been thinking about it for a little while, but this whole thing it did leave me with one big question. If you're ready.
Oh hell yeah.
They shot off bottle rockets.
Sure.
It seems to have pissed off Grandpa.
Mm-hmm.
What types of fireworks do you think would actually work the best to attract a Bigfoot to your location? What what type of fireworks are Bigfoot just hooting and hollering over? Like, maybe, like, okay, clearly they pissed off an older Bigfoot, and he had to get up and, you know, you whippersnappers cut that shit out. I'm trying to have a Bigfoot geriatric nap over here.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think would get Bigfoots excited to come and hang out and watch the show?
Interesting. So
I have an instant answer if you're ready, but
yeah, go ahead.
You can go ahead. You know those ones that sort of, they're golden usually, and they sort of fall like a willow tree?
Yeah, you're talking like industrial level fireworks here.
Yeah. I'm thinking a Bigfoot is going to see that and think, oh my God, there's a big golden tree in the sky. I'm all about trees. That's like half my thing, really.
Uh-huh.
And he's going to come running out the woods to experience that with you.
Yeah, he wants to climb that shit, but it's way up in the sky, so he can't get up there, even though he's got big feet, long legs, and good jump.
Yeah. Like, and again, there's a level of sentience where it recognizes there's a tree in the sky, but doesn't quite know what to do with that information. Doesn't quite realize that he can't climb up and get it because it's made of firework, which is a word that I'm assuming firework is the singular version of fireworks.
I guess.
I don't know. I'm saying it out loud and I'm realizing I don't know.
That's a thing. Yeah.
So that's my. It was that, or it was going to be like the little, the ones that would like shoot a spinning thing up in the air and then it comes down, it parachutes down, and it's a little army man, and then you get to give Bigfoot like a toy, which would be cool to me.
Yeah, it would be.
I would love to give Bigfoot some sort of treat like that. So
what kind of toy, if you had to give Bigfoot, this is like, I can't just add a big question, but and if
let me
Bigfoot
answer your big question by making you answer an entirely different big question.
Yeah, what kind of toy do you want to give Bigfoot?
I mean, I feel like Bigfoot's gonna like a plushie of some kind, like a nice plushie. I don't know whether I could get more specific than that. I also think that like Bigfoot would probably enjoy one of those kits from back in the day that was probably made of poison, where you could like make a bug, but it was made of like, you know, gelatin,
the,
or
like mad scientist laboratory thing, whatever the fuck that was. That one is at least safer than the like home smelting one, you know, where you're pouring liquid aluminum.
Yeah.
You know,
I had one when I was a kid that was a Dexter's Laboratory themed mini lab that you could like make little treats in.
Yeah.
And I think Bigfoot would get a kick out of that, especially if it's the Creepy Crawlers version. Because, you know, I think that maybe here's the thing that I would also suggest to BFRO. How do we know Bigfoot isn't just out there munching on, like, crickets and spiders and stuff? Just insects. Like,
it's getting, look, if Bigfoot is that, is that in one with nature and evolved, then he's already on the protein source of the future, bugs.
Right, and bugs aren't really creatures or animals or anything. They're their own category of non-animal. This is known.
Yeah, well, it's not considered. You're not considered a carnivore if you eat bugs, right?
I don't know, but you're definitely not vegetarian.
True. Interesting. I honestly don't, because like There's some level of sentience that I've never fully understood the delineation for, like, pescatarian and stuff. Like, I'm not an expert on that stuff, so I'm just gonna go ahead and talk about fireworks that I think that Bigfoot would like.
And just to throw at you, Niall, my understanding of pescatarian is that people born pescatarian have a special ability to tap into animal consciousness, and so that's how they know.
Oh, sure. Okay.
So
cool. I think I'm trying to stick with like consumer grade fireworks, like stopping by the roadside store, it on the border of the state that where fireworks
Black
are legal.
Cat, TNT. Yeah.
So I think I always think about like Roman candles are the big one that I think are, because they are both kind of loud and percussive, but also a bit of a spectacle with a multi-stage kind of thing going on.
Yeah.
I also think that there's ones called... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, consider what if Bigfoot were to watch Jackass and you show him, here's a real-life example of the kind of stuff they do on Jackass, and you fire one of those out of your ass. Bigfoot might really enjoy that. We don't know.
Yeah, I
until
think
we try.
Bigfoot. I do think Bigfoot would enjoy watching someone's balls get torched by a bottle rocket. You know?
Yeah, I now that I'm saying it, I realize Bigfoot's probably more of a wasabi snooters guy.
Sure. Yeah.
So
Bigfoot loves Steve-O's Hot Ones interview where he pours a whole bottle of hot sauce into his own eye.
yes,
Yeah, Bigfoot loves that one.
Bigfoot loves
no,
that
I think
shit.
there's one called Screamers, which I think
yeah.
those are. I always hated those fucking things because they're only loud. Like they don't do anything cool visually. Really,
Yes.
they just like exist to be annoyingly loud.
You're talking like the fountain ones that you can set in the driveway and they just make an obnoxious screaming noise.
Yeah, they sound like they try to sound like a pitched up plane taking off. You know.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that I think I would be most. I think that would bring all the Bigfoot to you because it sounds like something's in distress.
Ooh, or what if it sounds like a lady Bigfoot?
Maybe that's exactly what a Bigfoot lady sounds like. Is a fireworks screamer.
Yeah, Bigfoot comes running in, all pent up and ready
Those
to go.
things actually sound kind of like TIE fighters now that I think about it, or like you know.
Yeah, they kind of do.
Yeah, anyway.
we can just breeze past the thing I just said, which is fine.
No, I think what you said is great, and
thanks. Thank you.
I just had sometimes these are just a few of my incredible thoughts. Okay.
We have so many incredible thoughts on this podcast. So if you want to get a horny Bigfoot in your area tonight, launch a screamer. Go to Big Bob's Fireworks Emporium, get a bunch of screamers. You're gonna have like a dozen Bigfoot with hard-ons just running in your direction. If that's something you want,
yeah.
And I know some
Yeah.
people do.
Yeah,
So.
I'm pretty sure that book is on Book Talk right now. Wow.
Perfect.
All right. Yeah, fireworks and Bigfoot. Not something I ever really thought to combine before, but it's a natural. It's really a natural crossover.
Yeah, Niall, you said it, not me.
All right,
you
Kyle.
ready to take care of some of this fucking business bullshit?
Yeah, if you listen to podcasts somewhere, look up It Gets Weird. We're on all the major podcatchers. So if you listen to us, look it up on your podcatcher. You'll find it.
If you listen to podcasts, we're out there.
That's the thing here's just not to delay this anymore, but I've long said the thing about the podcatchers, and I do think that it is helpful to hit your links, but this is the problem with my brain and self-promotion is like, if you're listening to this podcast, you know how to listen to podcasts because you're listening to it.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's like, what do you say to do that correctly that doesn't just sound stupid? Because to me, it all sounds kind of stupid.
Why do we do that?
It's just a thing that, like, we much like everything, we made all the decisions about how to do stuff on this podcast, like, impulsively by just like trying to take from other places, and it's a thing other people say.
I guess some people do find us through like YouTube, right?
Sure.
So this is useful for like YouTube people, because otherwise you've already found us.
Yeah.
So,
or if you overhear us on if this is playing out into the world somewhere and you walked by and heard a bit and liked it, we are on podcatchers.
Yeah, we're out there. We're on Spotify. We're on every podcatcher you can fucking imagine. We're on twitch.tv/itgetsweird, where Niall and I we've made it to the Elite Four. We are about to challenge the Elite Four, by the way.
Colin and you.
Who did I say?
You said me.
That was an accident. I'm talking about friend of the show, Colin, who I'm playing Pokemon with. So please check us out there. That's been a lot of fun. We're about to finish Pokemon. It's been quite the run. And you know, we have a good time in the chat. So come check it out. Email us, itgetsweirdpodcast@gmail.com. All those podcast question of the week. Canada, I'm hoping to hear from you very soon after this episode goes up, because I got to know what's going on in Ontario. Hit us up. Just let us know how we should refer to you, and we might read your email out on the show if it's good. Patreon.com/itgetsweird. This is where you have to go right fucking now. And I gotta say, I've been thinking, we're a cheap Patreon. People are all raising their prices on their Patreon, which I'm realizing might have something to do with the pay structure of Patreon or something changing. We're so cheap. Go right now. We have a $1 tier. That's the tip tier. You're putting $1 in the tip jar saying, hey, thanks for doing what you do. Here's $1. But if you want bonus content, you have to only pay $1 more. $2 tier, you get It Gets Weird TV every other week where Niall and I are talking about weird television. Right now we're in the back half of X-Files Season 3. It's been a great time. Having a great time watching that show. But if you want even more bonus content, we have the $5 tier where we do World of Weird, where we talk about whatever the hell we want. So that happens in the off weeks of It Gets Weird TV. At the $5 tier, you're getting bonus content every single week. There's a huge back catalog of bonus content. We've done all kinds of stuff. We've talked movies and TV. We've talked about our personal experiences with the paranormal and UFOs and stuff. We've done all kinds of things. So much content, you would never be bored. You'd always have something to listen to. And if you donate at the $2 tier, the $5 tier, you get access to the main show 2 days early on Friday instead of Sunday on your own private Patreon feed. And you get access to the Discord where we're hanging out, chatting with our listeners just like you right now. That could be you. We have great conversations with people in there. So go ahead and check it out. The $2 tier and the $5 tier. Patreon.com/itgetsweird. But times are tough. We understand. Maybe money's tight. Least you could do for us, since we don't advertise, we don't do any of that bullshit, that annoying crap. Tell somebody about us. Tell somebody, tell your friend, tell your family members, tell random people at the bar or on the bus. Airdrop us to people just randomly. Just hit them with it. Let people know about It Gets Weird Podcast. So tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your congressman all about It Gets Weird Podcast.
All right. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for continuing to support the show. This has been It Gets Weird, and I've been Niall.
And I'm Kyle, signing out.
Peace.